Today I am putting away my canner and I am making a simple and delicious Parmesan lobster linguine. If you can melt butter and boil pasta, then you can make this recipe. It's that simple. So first let's talk about the star ingredient, the main ingredient of this dish, the lobster. I kindly asked my husband to go fishing one day for me and asked him to bring home some lobster so I could make this dish. I'm kind of kidding, he does go fishing every day, but he always gladly brings them home when I ask. So I just want to show you how these lobsters actually got here. Once the lobster actually got home, what I ended up doing, or we ended up doing, or let's be real, what he ended up doing, my husband, was cooking the lobster. If you're unfamiliar with cooking lobster, be sure to check out a video. I do have a step-by-step how we do it, well, or how he does it when we bring a lobster home. If you're not as fortunate as I am to have easy access to lobster, you can use canned lobster bought from a store. You can use your own bottled lobster if you have some. You can even choose a different seafood like shrimp or mix it up, whatever you can get your hands on. Once I had the lobster cooked, then I just needed to shell it. So this is how I shell my lobster. I break it apart, take apart all the pieces, and then crack the claws. Remove the meat from the joints, remove the meat from the tail. There are also different tools that you can use as well to crack your lobster, to remove the meat from your lobster. I just usually keep it pretty simple with a knife and a fork, and if the claws are really hard, sometimes I'll take like a claw cracker, but basically it's just some simple tools that everybody has at home. You don't need any special equipment to shell lobster. If you'd like as well, you can try to save a couple of claws if you want to really make a nice presentation with your end dish to put on top of your dish. I am keeping the ingredients in this recipe really simple. When I'm cooking with seafood, I really don't want to overpower the seafood taste. Like we're cooking seafood, delicious lobster, and I don't want to mask the flavor of lobster. I want to enhance it. So I'm keeping this simple with just some salt, some pepper, some garlic, of course the pasta we need, and some Parmesan cheese, and we're also going to be using some of the reserved pasta water. So that's all that's going in this recipe. Very simple. You can go nuts. You can add all kinds of spices to this if you prefer. You can add lemon and lemon zest and thyme and rosemary and basil, or anyway, the sky's the limit. Red pepper flakes, anything you like, but I'm going to keep it very simple. This is the way we like to have it, so the lobster flavors really come through. So I'm going to start by cooking my pasta. And you have to remember we're using the reserved pasta water to make our sauce, if you want to call it a sauce. It's really simple and it's really nice. Well, I'm not going to say light because there is a lot of butter, but it's still going to be delicious. Something that I didn't always realize, that you really need to salt your water well when cooking pasta, especially if you're using the pasta water for the recipe that you're cooking in. So very important to salt your water well. This pot, I have it about halfway full of water. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of salt to this to cook my pasta. You can use any kind of pasta that you have on hand. You can use spaghetti, linguine, whatever you have. I happen to have some linguine, that's what I'm going to be using. This recipe will probably make enough pretty good portions for 2 to 3 people, so adjust your recipe if you're making it for more than that. Once this is boiling, we'll add in our pasta, then we'll let that cook and move to the next step. Now, while the pasta is cooking, we're going to prepare the rest of the ingredients for the dish. So in a saucepan, we're going to add a couple tablespoons of butter. Did I say there was a lot of butter in this recipe? But trust me, it is so good. So you're going to melt a couple tablespoons of butter because we just want to lightly, I know how you want to call it, the lobster's cooked, but just kind of saute the lobster inside of that delicious butter to get it all nice and buttery. So anyway, melt a couple tablespoons in a saucepan or in a Dutch oven or whatever you have on hand. Once your butter has melted, you're going to add to your saucepan 1 crushed clove of garlic. Mine are awfully big, but it's okay. And you're going to throw that inside of your butter and then add your lobster and let all those flavors kind of blend together for a few minutes. Don't overcook your garlic. Don't let it turn brown. But you know, we're talking about maybe 5-10 minutes, gently heating your lobster in that butter just to give it a beautiful flavor, aroma, color. Once your lobster is done, you're going to remove it from the pot and just set it aside. Turn off the heat. We're just going to take it out for a minute because it's already cooked, so we don't want it to overcook. Don't forget to discard those big cloves of garlic. It would be a little unpleasant to bite into one of those huge cloves. Do not wash that pot. We're going to use it again, so we want to leave all those flavors inside that pot. So the pasta's done. Do not forget to reserve your pasta water. So before I drain it, I'm going to scoop up around a cup, but I probably won't use an entire cup. So I'll just put that aside before I forget. So now I'm going to drain the pasta and just set it aside for a minute. All right, my noodles are drained. My liquid is saved. So now we're going to continue on. There's not much left to do. So first we're going to start by putting it on a gentle heat again. The pot that you kind of cooked, kind of simmered your lobster in, sauteed your lobster in. If you can actually saute lobster, I have no idea. To that pot, we are adding half a cup of butter. Like I said before, there's a lot of butter. And to that pot, we're going to add 3 cloves of minced garlic. You can add more or less if you really like garlic, but I'm going to put around 3 cloves of garlic in that butter. Do not let your garlic turn brown. Put it on a really low heat. Brown garlic kind of gets bitter, so just make sure that you're watching it close and not letting it get overcooked. I really find when you saute the lobster like that, it gives it such a nice, richer color. It's not quite as white. It really brings out the nice redness of the lobster, and it just makes it absolutely beautiful once it's sauteed. If you'd like, you could also turn this kind of into a creamier sauce. So to your melted butter, you would add equal amounts of flour, and then you would add milk until it would become a creamy sauce. I think it's already nice and rich enough as it is. It's absolutely delicious, and so I just like to have it like that. But that's another option as well if you would like to make this into a creamier sauce. Once your butter has melted and your garlic has sauteed enough to become nice and fragrant, just kind of turn off the heat so nothing gets overcooked. Return your lobster to the pot, and then we'll put in the pasta and the pasta water. Do not add the entire cup of pasta water. Kind of do it gradually until it gets to a saucy consistency that you like. Then gradually add your pasta. Really get it in that sauce and in that lobster and stir all that around. And this is where you can adjust the pasta water if you find that it's too dry. Be sure to taste it before you add any additional salt, because the pasta water was very well salted, and there's also a half a cup of butter, so you don't want to over salt. I am going to be adding some pepper. You're going to add your half a cup of Parmesan cheese in there so it can melt. And I'm going to add a little bit more. And I think that's enough pasta to lobster ratio. Now all that's left to do is to plate this. Like I know what I'm talking about, but just to make it all nice and pretty in a plate. And I do have the clove that I had reserved to put on top for garnish, if you want to call lobster a garnish. So let's get this on the plate. Fancy restaurants, something kind of twist that on the plate somehow, or make sure to add some nice lobster on top and a nice piece of crusty garlic bread on the side. So there you go. Simple, easy, linguine lobster pasta, Parmesan lobster linguine with a side of garlic bread. You cannot go wrong. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy my content. If you do, give it a big thumbs up and check back again soon to see what other things I'll have going on.